Good morning. Today we are continuing on talking about those perimeter and areas. We are moving into the circle. So we are doing PO69. I can calculate the circumference of a circle. So circumference is a new vocab word, but it's like perimeter. Okay. We can't call it a perimeter because we don't add up all the sides because the circle doesn't have sides. But that perimeter is the distance around the circle. So imagine that your yard was circular, it would be that distance making a fence go around your yard. So that distance is like perimeter, but it's curved. It's not sides that we add up. Since we don't have sides, we can't add easily. So we have to use a formula. Before we go on to the formula, let's talk about what a circle is. So, the circle is the set of all points that are the same distance from the center. In a circle, we have a radius. The radius is from the center to the, I'm going to call it outside. We have the diameter. Cuts from one side through the center to the other side. So with our circle, we need to know what a radius is and what a diameter is. The radius goes from the center out to the side. The diameter goes from side to side through the center. Important to know that because we use the radius and the diameter to find the circumference. There are two different formulas we can use because sometimes our circle will give us the radius, sometimes it gives us the diameter. So if our circle gives us the radius, we say the circumference is 2 times pi times that radius. If our circle gives us the diameter, our circumference is pi times the diameter. Because as you can see, the radius is half of a diameter. So if we're given that radius, we have to multiply by 2. Okay, because that radius, there are 2 radiuses to 1 diameter. All right, so remember, to figure out what pi is, you can use that pi button on your calculator, or you can multiply by 3.14. So sometimes people forget their big kid calculator and they have to borrow one of mine from the back. Mine in the back don't have a pi button. So you need to know that pi equals 3.14. Now our answer isn't going to be the exact same because pi actually goes on and on and on and on for infinity, and we round it to the 100th place. So if you use the pi button on the calculator, it's gonna be a slightly different answer than the 3.14. I always figure out the answer both ways, so I know which way you used if your answer is correct. Okay, so they will be a slight difference, but I will accept either way, because I'll have that answer both ways. All right, so let's practice figuring out the circumference of the circle. So we're gonna round to the nearest hundredth. So this is important. Rounding matters. So you need to write down that decimal to 3 places, to that thousandths place, and you're gonna round it to the hundredth. If you do not round correctly on the test, it will be wrong. You can be off by 1/100th and it will be wrong. We have to be precise and correct, so we have to round correctly. So let's look at this first one. Look at A. Our radius is 5. So which formula should we use? Should we use 2 times pi times r, or should we use pi times d? Which one should we use, Joy? Yeah, because we're given our radius. The radius is the half one. So we're going to use 2 times pi times r. R is 5. So, who has their calculator and can use the pi button? So if we're going to use that pi button, what do we get for our answer? Matt? 31.415, and we are going to round to that 100th place. So what would that round to, Matt? 31.42. Good. That one is followed by a 5. If it's 5 or more, you're going to round that 100th place up 1. If it's 4 or less, it stays the same. So it was followed by a 5, so we rounded up. So 31.42. Now, let's try it using 3.14. So 2 times 3.14 times 5. What do you get? Jackson?
31.4.
31.4. Remember when I said they're going to be similar, they're going to be close, but they're not going to be exactly the same. I will accept it either way as long as you're rounding correctly. Okay, so if you use 3.14, you get 31.4. If you use the pi button, you get 31.42. Any questions on that? All right, let's try B. Which formula am I going to use? Joy? Pi times the diameter, because we're given a diameter here. It goes straight from side to side. It goes all the way through. So, our circumference equals pi times 12. Using the pi button, what do you get for the circumference, Jack?
37.699.
699?
Yes.
Okay, what does that round to if we're rounding to our 100th place, Jack?
37.7.
37.7, or you could say 70, because that 9 rounds up to 10, so that means the 69 rounds up to 70. Okay, so you could put 37.70 or 37.7, they're the same value. If we use 3.14, what do we get? 3.14 times 12, Joy. 37.68. So you can see that they are close, but because one is a rounded pie and one is the full pie, they're slightly different. As long as you're rounding correctly, you'll get credit for either way. So your job is to ask yourself, am I given the radius or the diameter? Which formula do I use? And then make sure you round correctly after you multiply it through. Any questions on doing the circumference? Okay, this whole page is just calculating the circumference. When you are finished, make sure packet 11 is turned in. Make sure your name's on it and you turn it in. It is due today. So if you don't turn it in today, it will start losing points. I'm going to be finishing passing back practice works. Keep working on practice works. We're gonna do a short retake day tomorrow because it's a short class with May crowning and the concert. Lots going on tomorrow. So a short class tomorrow, we'll do retakes. Make sure you're getting practice work turned in so you can get to the retake right away. Any questions? Okay, if you are watching this at home, I hope you are well, and I hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful day.